Welcome to the Wokkah Podcast, where we make AI simple, practical, and powerful for leaders, product teams, and ambitious builders. I'm your host, Dr. Iyanu Odebode, a global AI expert dedicated to helping you scale smarter.
And I'm Jason Wright, your co-host. As a marketing strategist, I'll be bringing business and growth perspective to our conversations. So
awesome. Each week, we all cut through the hype, share some real examples, and give you clear steps to put AI to work for your business and career. And today, we're kicking things off with a behind-the-scene conversation where Jason and I just sort of walk through what we're doing in AI ourselves, from strategy to execution, and why it really matters right now.
just as a quick background, can you let everybody know just kind of your, you've got your PhD in artificial intelligence and machine learning, but can you give a little bit of background on you?
Yes, so started with my master's in computer science, focus on bioinformatics.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my first introduction to AI because I had the opportunity to use some of these machine learning techniques or algorithms to solve some problems in the biological space.
Sure.
Now, what that did for me, it sort of got me thinking about the possibilities around AI because I didn't know anything about biology, and so I had to learn that. And I started sort of figuring out, oh, wow, like this could actually help other areas as well. This could be very pivotal in shifting us. And this was 15 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And then I moved from there to doing my PhD in information systems. And my focus was in machine learning. And I was doing a lot of multimodal clustering and things of that nature. So, wow, now you can actually not only use text, but you can actually use images and all of these different things that actually help us to make good use of our data on a daily basis became really exciting to me.
So you've been in AI before it was called AI.
Yeah, exactly. There's a whole lot of confusion around AI, and I'm like, man, Jason, like this is just the umbrella. AI is just the umbrella. You say AI, and then AI is just literally a decision support system, if you think about it. Something that actually helps us do what humans would typically do better.
Sure.
Right? And then from AI, we moved into this machine learning space, which is how do we take data and try to recognize patterns that exist within the context of this data, and then move from machine learning to deep learning. How do we start really making better use of this information by creating these neural networks and things of that nature?
Sure.
And then we just keep drilling down.
So I want to ask, we talk about, AI is a very complicated topic, and you can go deep down that rabbit trail. And so what I would like to do is try to figure out, how do we bring it down? Because my background is in marketing and sales to a degree, and so I spent the last 18 years doing marketing for a manufacturing company. And so, what my interest in AI is, I can't go super deep, but what I can say is how can I use this to make my life easier? How can I use this from a marketing role and customer service and all the different business disciplines? How can we actually bring this into companies and businesses and help them make their lives easier and get better, faster, and cheaper?
So we're now beginning to see smaller businesses adopt AI within their infrastructure. There's still a little bit of confusion as to like what should AI really do for them. And so it's really important for small businesses to sort of step back a bit and ask themselves the question, like, what's the biggest pain point within my organization, right? Even for marketing, right?
Yeah.
What's the biggest pain point? What do you experience? What do you hate doing today that you would prefer someone else, to do for you? And how can we take that pain and figure out a way of creating systems around it? These systems are typically called like some automation, which means I identify a step-by-step process of executing that task today. And I sort of start to figure out what kind of AI tool can I use to pull it off such that I can actually get that same task done without me being heavily involved.
Yeah, and you bring up an interesting point because I see a lot of gurus out there talking about the latest software, the latest AI tool, and those are all interesting. But I remember, and I've left my former role at the previous company, but at the time, ChatGPT was just starting. I mean, it had been out for a year or a year and a half. And I was just starting to use it. A lot of people may not even be doing that yet in businesses, and maybe some are, but it kind of makes me think about like what you're referring to is little bit more of like an underlayer, like where everybody's talking about the latest tool, using this and using that. But what I hear you say is like how you actually tie these together to automate your business and to really not just focus on one tool, but actually documenting and systematizing behind the scenes so that, and maybe it's a good way to look at it because everybody thinks about AI as like, oh, it's coming for my job.
Yep.
And I don't know if you want to speak to that.
Yep. So Jason, like you bring up a good point, right? Like when you and I started using some of these, tools, because I was having conversations with you about this when GPT just initially came through and would have dialogues around what's really the use and things of that nature. Now, if you think about it, if you were just drafting out an email with GPT, you could say, hey, here are a couple of words I want to put in this email I'm going to be sending out to my friend or my boss or whatever the case may be. Hey, can you help me clean it up? That's all well and good. But if you start now basically getting into, hey, I have this context that I really want the AI to be able to understand, to be able to respond to this individual, you kind of have to feed that context to the AI system. The AI system doesn't know, what context you're talking about. And this is where you start going into this RAG model or retrieval augmented generation model.
Can you give a very quick, easy to understand explanation of what RAG is? Yeah.
So think about it as an AI library where you have all these different documents referenced within that specific library. So rather than the AI just making an assumption on your company's policy, you can go and actually pull it from the documents that you put in that library and then give the response to the customer. So it prevents hallucination. It prevents AI just going rogue, which is what a lot of people experience. Like, oh man, I told it to do this, but guess what? Like it keeps doing something else.
Would you say it's kind of like helping the AI agent that you happen to be using, whether it's ChatGPT, Gemini, or any of the other ones, training it to be an expert on your particular topic?
Exactly. Guiding them through your specific
So it's like
topic.
having your own agent, like your own ChatGPT that knows everything about whatever it is, the topic that you're wanting to.
And so it would go outside and pull the language and the English construct, but it's using your documentation, it's using your knowledge to make the decision. Yeah. It's kind of like, you have a website and you say, hey, if you want to reach out to us, just, type it on GPT and it's to give you the response. Well, do we know what GPT knows about us? Right. We don't. Right. But guess what? If you redirect people to your own system that has your own documentation, but talks to any of those LLM systems, but uses your document as a guide to respond, then basically you're using RAG. Yeah, that makes sense. So I did actually want to kind of go back in time a little bit, and I'm curious because, for a lot of us, it feels like AI just kind of happened to us, where it was just like one day it wasn't there, and then the next day it was. But you actually have been in this field for 10 or 15 years, and so what made you actually want to do that? My very first experience with generative AI, like my experience with AI dates back 15 years. And I saw the power of it from just its ability to take in a bunch of protein sequences, which had to do with biology, and sort of try to make sense and find similarities between two protein sequences. And so
you were using it to problem solve.
Exactly. Yeah. And so thinking about it from that perspective, now when we started moving into this sort of generative AI space, my first introduction to it was through Allen NLP. I don't even know if people still use it. As a matter of fact, they had this Transformers implementation on their website. And so I would go on and then I would feed it with a bunch of books. And I was like, wow, this thing is doing such a great job. I'll put in an image and I was like, what do you see in this image? I need to tell me I see the image of, a cow playing soccer. I'm just, throwing that out, right? And so I started seeing the power of it. So when GPT launched, I'm like, man, things are about to really, really shift. Things are about to really, really change, because if we have a system now that can generate content by itself, that can hold conversations with us without us having to basically dictate what we want as a response.
Yep.
Man, like the endless possibilities from there. I mean, it's just.
So I feel like, when I listen to you, I hear a lot of like, you're thinking of like possibilities and all of this opportunities that it's going to create. But there's a lot of people out there that are actually scared.
Yes.
They actually are worried about this. And can you speak to that a little bit? I mean, because there's, I'm kind of on both sides of the fence. I see the peril, but I also see the promise. And like, depending on the day, I'm not sure whether to be afraid of it or whether to be excited about it. And so you seem to be more of an optimist. And can you help me understand why?
So, there's two different ways I see life. You have return on investment and then you have return on purpose. And return on purpose really means that like you're not necessarily just getting a return on, from a monetary standpoint. You're actually getting a return from a conviction that you have about what it is that you're selling.
Right.
And so basically, if we look at AI from that perspective, if you look at the healthcare sector for a very long time has suffered a lot of, like, we're backward when it comes to healthcare. Educational system, it's been really, really backward for many years. So in instances like that, we're going to actually get like a supercharge of those systems, where our healthcare systems would significantly improve because now we have the power, and when I say the power, the energy, the infrastructure to be able to analyze data and analyze the content that's taken us many years to really discover. In the same breath, when you look at the manufacturing companies, right? Like there's a lot of manual things still that has been done for many years. You know this, and sometimes even the companies cannot afford to pay for these huge systems to be built out and things of that nature. So these systems just suffer inefficiencies because of that. Now, on the other side of things, we have, code being created in rather than months, in weeks. And so there's two sides of the coin here. But if you look at the brighter side of it, you see that there's going to be opportunities to get, good healthcare and things of that nature. However, if you look at the other side of it, you might say, wait a minute, like you might not need an administrator 2 or 3 years from now. But if the administrator now is using AI to improve their work, you will need an administrator, right? Because now the administrator's work would evolve from just manual administration to how do you use AI to administer whatsoever it is that they're administering right now.
So I kind of think of that using a different analogy. I think of, and you've talked about this before about, AI is kind of like electricity. And if you think about all of the different industries that were able to be created because of electricity. Yes. And so before electricity, when people were driving, or were riding their horses and buggies, they wouldn't have been able to imagine the automobile industry or flying in an airplane or all things that electricity help unlock.
Right.
And I think about it too, in the same way of like, what did computers do? What did the calculator do? It made some people's jobs irrelevant, but what did they do? They used it to better themselves and to be able to kind of delegate jobs that computers are actually better at to the computers, and then that frees you up to be able to learn in other skills. And so, I ask myself, and this is kind of where I lean a little bit more towards the optimistic side, where I'm thinking, okay, there's entire industries and there's jobs that that we don't even know about yet.
Exactly, that are being created
AI
right
is going to create that opportunity to be able to do that. And so we're in the transition right now. And so I don't know, I do think that there's a dark side to it. And I don't know how you feel about that, to where, you've got, think about the internet. It unlocked all kinds of amazing things, but there's a dark side to it as well, where it unlocked the ability for a lot of bad actors to do a lot of horrible things.
Absolutely.
And so you're going to have that side, but it seems like with AI, it's going to be like an exponential version of that, where the opportunity for good is going to be really good, and the opportunity for bad is going to be really bad.
Yeah.
And so, does that give you concern? Are you worried about that at all?
So two sides of it. Yes, I am worried about that. That's the one. I am definitely very worried about that. One thing you could think about is with the horse situation, right? The horses that you mentioned, right? Think about what it could have looked like for the folks riding horses or helping people to move their things from point A to point B, hearing that we're going to have cars,
right?
And you're going to lose your job. But think about the opportunities that the cars unlocked for companies like Uber, right? Where now you have companies that make billions and billions of dollars just from the use of that.
Yeah.
So it's really how we're shifting the way that we think about some of this, things.
Yeah.
But also on the dark side, think about bad actors using these systems to destroy people's lives. And I think that's where we really need to be very, very worried and cautious.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. I think that's where we need people in cybersecurity that can actually get ahead of because some of our foundational ways of securing our applications today will become obsolete.
Sure. That makes sense. Well, I did want to, I didn't want to go super in depth, but, I did want to talk through a couple of practical examples, and we don't have to go super deep into this, but, one of the things that what I feel a little bit of a passion about is helping make AI accessible to everyday, business people who don't have PhDs in machine learning, people who don't understand all the technical jargon.
Yes.
And so, I majored in marketing, or actually management, but I have spent most of my career in marketing. And so I have more of a, I'm a user. I would say I'm a bit of a power user of it.
Yep.
And so, but I'm interested in kind of bringing this down to a level to where other people can start using it and start understanding like why this is such a big deal and how this has the potential to completely change the game. And I don't know what this looks like a year from now. I mean, I recognize when ChatGPT came out that my career, my job as a marketer may be in jeopardy because, at some point ChatGPT or one of the other AI agents is going to be able to do my job better than I could. But I also understood that, it's better to be ahead of the curve than behind it. And so I very quickly started using it to try to figure it out. Like, what can this do? How can this help me? Because there were elements of my job that I hated that were just necessary, time consuming, and manual. And so I began thinking about like, this would be cool if I didn't have to do this, if I didn't have to, one of my big struggles was checking all my analytics, like Google Analytics or other different, looking at making sure all of these KPIs were being met. AI would be a great replacement for all of the time that it took me, because it could just go in and real time monitor all of that data and be able to give me key insights when I needed them, when they were relevant. And that was exciting to me, because there were creating reports and spreadsheets and things like that was just a part of my job that I hated. And so AI being able to be used for that actually really excited me. And so that's what I might think about this, is because you mentioned earlier, you said, think about, a part of your job that you hate and then use AI for that.
Absolutely.
And so I don't feel like there's, and maybe there is, and it's hard to keep up with so many different new software tools being released, but it seems like there's a new one being released every day. But what options are there out there that you would suggest that, like a small business with, I don't know, under 50 employees, what are some different things that they could start using right away where they could get some bang for their buck that doesn't have to take them too deep, but also gets their feet wet?
Yes. So think about it, for small businesses specifically, I think a majority of people struggle with, and to your point around like some of the jobs, I call them maybe opportunities, that you would wish you weren't doing because it just took up a whole lot of your time. And sometimes we spend like half of our days really quite frankly, stressing over things that we really shouldn't be putting our brain power to. Like I had a friend who basically would write all his code so that he didn't have to do things manually. And he got promoted several times because now they had the software in-house that was actually used to create things that would have taken them time to do. Some people do all that automation in Excel and things of that nature. Now you can take all of that and basically identify an LLM or a large language model like ChatGPT or Grok or Gemini, and focus on learning them and mastering them. Now you can take ChatGPT and you can feed ChatGPT with your Excel spreadsheet and you can ask it questions. Now, before you start depending, I have to be careful about saying this, before you start depending on it, because there's a lot of conversations out there on, just feed your data into GPT and it will give you the responses and stuff like that. Before doing that, have a way of auditing the responses. So don't be overly dependent on these systems. So ask the GPT, what is X, Y, and Z? You know the content is in your document, but you want to make sure that the system is speaking it right. Because sometimes you have things in the memory that what you're feeding in to GPT might confuse for something else. So you just want to make sure that you're really clear on that.
I want to touch on two things real quick. One of them is, can you speak to like data privacy and like, is it safe to feed all of your data into ChatGPT?
No.
And then the other thing is hallucinations. And it claims that they're getting it fixed and they figured out why it hallucinates. So maybe explain what the hallucinations are, why it happened, and what you need to do, because my experience has actually been pretty frustrating.
I knew that.
Is that, it'll give me a very confident wrong answer. And because I happen to know what I'm looking for, and I'm not an expert, but I know enough to know what's right and what's wrong in the responses. I'm like, okay, this was clearly wrong. And then it will apologize and say, I'm sorry, you're right. That was incorrect. Here's the right answer. I'm like, how do I know that this is the right answer? And I've had multiple scenarios where I've had to go 2 or 3 times before it actually gets the right answer. And so can you speak to those two things, data privacy and whether you should be uploading all of your data to ChatGPT, and then also the hallucinations and how can you trust it?
So one, data privacy. No, you shouldn't put in all your data. You want to ensure that you're following your company's guidelines when it comes to how you feed data into these systems. And when I say company's guidelines, if you're working in the healthcare space, you should not have a first name and last name on there. You should not have a social security number on there. If you feed your social security number on there, if you don't have your memory stick turned on your memory settings turned on, so it does not remember what you store there, you might be feeding that information right back for training. And so it's really critical that you, one, either turn it off, or two, I was going to say, is that
even safe to turn it off? Because is it guaranteed that they're not actually going to remember it?
Yeah, I have to say no. Just take it off. Take the information off of the document before you feed it into the system.
Gotcha.
That's
so
very,
any
very
sensitive
important.
personal
Any
information.
sensitive personal information, remove it.
Okay.
Extremely important. Unless you want to host your own private LLMs, which means it sits on your server. It does what you want it to do on your server, and it doesn't communicate with outside.
Is that expensive?
It is expensive, but not as expensive as it used to be to just host.
So if there's companies out there that are interested, so say I'm just thinking about from the perspective of, if I'm a company and I'm maybe not even a public company, but if I'm a company, do I really want all of my sales data or my company information out there?
You don't.
For ChatGPT to be trained on. And so I would be a little bit cautious about that. And so then the next question would be, well, then how would I actually go about getting this behind a firewall or on my own private server? And so what you're saying is it's actually not that expensive, or it's not that involved.
We do this all the time. So, any company interested in that, can reach out to us, but like not as expensive at all as you would, have had it like a couple of years ago.
Sure. And that just gives you the peace of mind of knowing that your data isn't exposed to the public or more specifically any of the companies that are and so but it's still using an LLM. It's just it's not something that the company that created it has access to.
So basically what it would do is it would isolate the LLMs, put it on a separate server.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're either using a smaller large language model to run your own data from that private space. So it's not talking to it's not talking to any system outside. You can have your sales data on there. You can have all manner of data sets on there.
So that actually sounds like a pretty good place to start. If I had a company and I was worried about data privacy,
that would be the only direction.
And so I don't know. Maybe now is a good time to mention a little bit about Wokkah and the company, because this is the Wokkah Podcast, and so people may be asking, what is Wokkah? What does that even mean? So I don't know if you want to share a little bit about kind of what your vision was with creating that and what you do.
So we saw very earlier on in our business that there would be a need to serve smaller businesses and help them with adopting AI within their current system or infrastructure.
Right.
And so these small businesses, typically, they have proprietary things or things I wouldn't even call it proprietary, like things that you do within your business you do not want other people to know about, right? Because they are really special to you, nothing dangerous,
right?
But really special to you, it's private, you do not want people to know about it. And so typically you're scared of putting all that information now on GPT because then it's not safe.
Yeah.
And you just want something. Competitors can just grab a hold of it. And so what we do is we actually help those businesses to still leverage AI while keeping all their data secure.
Okay.
And this is really, really important as things begin to grow, because then we're going to have, it's just kind of like someone was saying it on the YouTube videos that we watch today. Like, yes, we still have like 95% of them that are sane. In the next 5-10 years, we would watch people that don't even exist, right?
Yeah.
AI avatars and, they make up people's faces and things of that nature. Yeah. So trusting videos like that will become more difficult. So how do we help companies to keep their own information private, keep it proprietary to them?
Right.
It's not in the mix of the confusion, so that they can actually stay ahead of the curve and make some money.
And, so in addition to that, like any type of tech project, I mean, Wokkah is basically a tech company that helps businesses bring their ideas to life.
Yeah. So we do, like we've built LLMs for educational companies. We've used LLMs for marketing on LinkedIn. We've used LLMs for digital marketing. Generating content and things of that nature. Automations. So
and so you had the idea for Wokkah back in the fall of last year, about a year ago.
Yes.
Or was it longer than that? Because me and you started talking around then, actually about a little over a year ago. And I was actually kind of in between jobs, and then, we were like, hey, we should do something. And so I came on board, and we've kind of been working on this now for the past 9 months, maybe.
9 months, yeah.
But you had kind of the idea for this already, and really the idea was more than just getting work done. It was really to help. And so you're originally from Nigeria.
Yep.
And so your actual heart behind, I think, what I want to say was actually to help people, right?
Yes.
And so can you speak to that a little bit?
Oh, yeah. So because we saw the gap that this would create.
This being AI.
Right? We did not want to be a part of the problem. We wanted to be a part of a solution over time. So if you think about it, like new AI products get developed every 6 months. And that's all well and good. But then because of the speed at which innovation is created now, it's subject to being consumed in a matter of months.
Yep.
And so we wanted to do something that would help people. And so that's why we really doubled down on how do we help globally? How do we help train talents globally to be able to accomplish our goals? So we wanted to fill the job gap. And so to do that, what we started doing was also, while we're getting these opportunities, we're also identifying talents and helping to place these talents with these opportunities so that we become a part of fixing the problem.
Sure. So you're kind of talking about bridging the gap where there's a lot of people globally, not just in Nigeria, but everywhere around the world that don't have access to the opportunities that people here in the U.S. have. And so there's a lot of people out there that are willing to work, that want jobs, but because of their environment, because of their country or the state of things, there's no options. So there's a lot of poverty, there's a lot of problems that are just created as a result of that. And so basically, I think what you're saying is we're working with U.S. businesses, or not just necessarily U.S. businesses, but businesses around the world, and connecting them with people who have the talent, who are able to work, and kind of bridging that gap between the two.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
Exactly. And because AI projects are new, it's really dynamic the way some of the problems have been solved. So no one has really standardized, a way of solving some of those problems. So with software, you say, well, it's the software development lifecycle, requirement gathering, whatever the case may be. But with AI, what is it, right? Are you training the data? Are you basically running an automation process? What's the guideline for that? And so we wanted to be a part of creating and setting those evaluation criteria so that we can actually start measuring the success. For people that brought in the opportunity, but also on the other end, we're sort of creating guardrails, guidance for how talents think about the execution of the AI work.
Sure. So that makes a lot of sense because I've hired outsourced people on like websites like Fiverr or Upwork or things like that, and sometimes you don't know what you're going to get.
Exactly.
And you hire somebody from another country, and it's like, okay, A, do they understand me? B, are they going to be able to deliver what I'm expecting? And C, did I even do a good job of defining
what it is that you want?
Asking for, And sometimes there's issues with all of those different areas.
Yes.
So this is kind of an opportunity to be able to go in and help solve that. So I wanted to jump real quick to one other thing, and I think that it's interesting that we've got this platform. And we've kind of created like this opportunity for people. You've actually got like right now, Wokkah has what, like 15 people on staff globally, and we're growing. But you don't strike me as one of these gurus out there that are just talking fluff, because it seems like I'm seeing a new person every day rise up that's got all the answers, and they're very, they're very good at sales and marketing. But like, I don't know, I don't know how many of these people are actually experts. And you've kind of come from a background where you've got your PhD in machine learning and artificial intelligence. And you're actually doing the work. You're actually doing this deep tech stuff that a lot of people out there I see are kind of a little bit of the hype side of it, where they're trying to sell. But then if you get too deep with them, you realize, oh, you guys are stuck up here on the surface, but you actually seem to be more of you can go down pretty deep.
Yes.
And so
and I think it's really critical and important for where AI is going, because when this whole thing started, everybody started updating their profiles and calling themselves AI experts, which is totally cool if that's what you are. That's what you are. But like, there's great sides, there's bad sides of using a tool, and if you're going to help a customer, you want to really understand how the tool works, and you do not want to put your customer you don't want to put them in a situation where their systems are compromised. Their way of doing things is compromised, and so the danger of basically jumping on any ship is just basically you risk all your data being compromised.
So, and I don't want to jump too deep, but I know that there was a specific example. So there's different tools out there. Like one of them is called Lovable, and I don't know if everybody's familiar with that, but it allows you to build websites and apps and things like that. There's another one called Replit.
Replit, yep.
And it's a similar type of thing, but what was the story with that? Because there was a
they had
major...
like the database just like had all the data points deleted.
Mm. So there was a company that was using
it, yeah,
and they had their all of their information
database
on there,
deleted,
and it just got deleted
for no reason. And so why? Because think about it, you're writing this prompt, and they get you your code, you publish it, and it's out there, and you don't know what to do because, of course, you're not
right.
you don't even know how to. You don't even know how to develop a tool, and so it's out there. People are signing up for it. I'm not saying this is exactly how it happened with Replit. I'm just saying
But this was like a big. This wasn't a small project.
This was like
$1 million.
This was
multi-million dollar.
This was huge.
Yeah,
this was huge. And so imagine that you have that, and then you have all the database of like 50,000 people or 20,000 people on your platform,
right?
And all of a sudden, someone writes a prompt that deletes the entire thing.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I think that underlines the fact that, you know, what you really need is you need a guide in this space that actually knows what they're doing.
Yes.
And a lot of people I see are flying by the seat of their pants.
Yes.
They don't really they're not real experts.
Yes.
And if they got stuck, they wouldn't really know what to do.
No.
And you know, my own experience with it is, you know, I toy around with things, and I like to push buttons, and I like to go in and, you know, but all of it's low risk. It's not like I've got any, you know, huge clients that I'm trying to put on these platforms, but I go in and I play with things to see how it works. But my own experience has been something similar, where I'll have a website built and it'll look perfect, and then I'll do one thing, and then it just overwrites everything.
Exactly.
And all the work that I just did is gone.
Yep.
And sometimes the undo button doesn't work.
No.
And so my own experience has been that. So, you know, it's been helpful for me because, you know, me as a marketer, I think a lot of times I think through the lens of like a marketer first. And like, I love the idea of stories and selling and marketing and advertising, but I go in and I play with these things, and then I get stuck. And then I actually have to use our team and say, guys, get me unstuck.
I know, right?
I'm in over my head already.
Exactly.
I don't know what to do.
Exactly.
And so I think a lot of people probably, as they start to go down this path, are going to have a similar experience where they start to realize, oh my gosh, this thing can do anything and everything I ever imagined. And then you realize that it can't.
Exactly.
But what it is able to do a lot.
Yes.
It is able to really accelerate, but there has to be an expert. There has to be a human in the loop that actually knows what to do, because if you run into an issue and you can't even explain to it what you're trying to get it to do because you don't know enough.
You don't know.
You need somebody who actually can go in and fix it and say, yeah, you're actually doing the wrong thing.
Exactly.
I can go in and manually fix this and move you past it.
Exactly.
And I think that's what, I guess it's a little bit of some advice and a word of caution against anybody who's wanting to go down this road. And I think that everybody should, because you really need to be learning this now. But you need a solid partner behind you to be able to help you get through this mix. And I think the company that you're building and that you've already got to this point is a great potential partner for anybody wanting to do that. So
absolutely. I mean, you're absolutely right. Like, you build things and you want to be able to go back and update it.
Yep.
You do not like the way the UI looks. You want to be able to fix that real time. All that's not going to work 100% when you're using prompts.
Yeah.
Because it's still not yet there.
Yeah.
And so how do you think about how you make updates? And it's the way of thinking. Mm-hmm. It's the way you think. And so AI does the manual work, but you need someone who is able to think about the specific problem, who understands the problem enough, is subject matter expert, like you were saying, that can actually tell you this is how to do it. The same thing we have with marketing, digital marketing. I could sit here and say, hey, we're really great at marketing and all that kind of stuff. But I find myself talking to you, right? Because we needed the SME that actually helps guide us through. Mm-hmm. What would AI help you do better?
Yeah.
And so that's the way it works. When you were working with your previous company, you had dozen of products, like
Mm-hmm.
crazy amount of products. You're going to have to walk through each one of them every day, like trying to scan through, when AI can basically give you the answers.
Right. Yeah.
And so I think that's where the SME comes in.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really where having an AI team that actually helps you to focus on what's important to you, while they focus on how to enable you to continue to work effectively comes in. And that's what our team does best.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's good. I think all this has been good. And I think, this is really just the beginning.
Yeah.
I think we've, kind of showing a little bit about, I guess I wanted to talk about kind of some of the background and just kind of set the stage. But, this is going to be the beginning of our Wokkah podcast.
Yes.
We're going to be talking about a lot of different things, not just theory, but more practical things.
Yes.
We've got a lineup of a bunch of guests that are
incredible.
really, really cool.
Yeah.
People to have on the show. And so if you've enjoyed this, we'd love for you to subscribe to our podcast. And we're going to be trying to drop new episodes every week. We're going to be sharing insights, tools, real stories to actually help you scale smarter with AI. So we'd also love to hear from you. If you've got any challenges or questions, we can certainly address them here, but drop it in the comments and we may cover it in a future episode. So we appreciate everybody joining us.
Yes,
this was
exciting.
a good interview, and we've got more to come. So until next time, keep building smarter with AI.